Hello everybody, this is Jamar500 once again. Welcome back to my channel. Today I will be doing a countdown video. I will be doing my top 10 Nickelodeon game shows that I grew up watching in the 90s as a kid. First of all, I would like to give a special shout out to Craig S. 1996 Television, Billy Moody, Rodney 1279, Steve Klebrowski, and the many of you guys out there who have enjoyed growing up watching these shows like I have. So without further ado, let's get started, shall we? Also in this video, I'm going to say a couple of honorable mentions. I'm going to get those out of the way first. So the first honorable mention is going to be Wild and Crazy Kids. Now, personally, I remember watching that show. It was pretty good. It was where kids had to do some crazy and fun events, and let's see. Boys compete, girls compete. Let's see. It's two different team colors. Yes, two different team colors on the show. Now, personally, I prefer the original series, co-hosted by Donnie Jeffcoat and Omar Gooding. And there were two different women who co-hosted the original series along with the two men. First, it was Annette Chavez who co-hosted with Donnie and Omar, and then I believe her name is Jessica Gaines. Yes, Jessica Gaines was the other woman who would later replace Annette Chavez and co-host the show. Now, the version hosted by Maddie Moralejo, I'd rather say it wasn't as good. I mean, the games were pretty good, but I personally think that the original Wild and Crazy Kids series was a lot better over Maddie Moralejo's version when he hosted. So that's the first honorable mention. The second honorable mention is going to be Brain Surge. Now, there's a lot of people out there who don't like this show. I can understand that. But I personally think that Brain Surge is a pretty decent show. Hosted by Jeff Sutphin, kids had a lot of, I want to say, physical and mental tasks to be done. Mostly mental, anyway. Now, the way Brain Surge works is, let's see, after the first round, the top 4 players, the players with the top 4 scores move on to the second round. And the last 2 players go down this thing called the Brain Drain. So by this round, the first 2 players are eliminated from the game and they go down the Brain Drain. Okay, so that's a little bit of Brain Surge right there. What else do we have? Then in the second round, I believe it's all about the memory. I forgot how the second round is played, but it's been so long since I last watched. But I will say this. Oh, come to think of it, it's 2 rounds. Okay, it's 2 separate elimination rounds. Okay, so by the second round, let's see. If kids get confused or mess up or whatever in regards to, I think it was let me see. It was Jeff's big book of something. I forgot. Yeah, it was Jeff's big book of something. I can't remember now. But after Jeff finishes telling the story, he asks the four players a series of questions to test their memory. Now, if they get the answer wrong or they run out of time, then they are automatically eliminated and go to the brain drain. But they're not the only two who go to the brain drain, because when it comes down to the final two contestants, what happens is, how do I say it? It's like a game of memory match. If a player matches correctly, they stay in the game. If the player matches incorrectly, we then go to sudden death, and then the next player to get a match wins the game, while the other opponent is sent along with the other two players down the brain drain. And then in the final round of Brain Surge, the remaining contestant has to try to guess 3 labyrinth patterns. Yes, 3 maze patterns. First in a grid of 4, then in a grid of 5, and then one more grid of 6. I believe those are the grids. I forgot now, but still. After the player, if the player can successfully get all of the grids correctly, they get slimed. Yeah, the player gets slimed. If they run out of time, however, then unfortunately they go down the brain drain. That's the way Brain Surge works. Okay, but again, I know some people didn't like this show. It was not one of my favorite shows, but all in all, I think it was still a pretty good show. So, again, hosted by Jeff Suffin. Okay, now on with my top 10 Nickelodeon game shows of the 90s. And just to note, before I go there, the Matty Moralejo version of Wild and Crazy Kids and also Brain Surge, those were not considered as 90s game shows, but that's aside from the point. That's not the point. And some of the game shows in my top 10 were not actually in the 90s at all. They were in the late 80s. But anyway. Alright, now that I've cleared all that, let's go ahead and get started. Number 10 in my countdown is Finders Keepers. Now, there were 2 different men who hosted this show. First, it was hosted by Wesley Ure, and then it was hosted by Larry Toffler. Now, I was not born when this game show was on. However, I got to watch it on Nick Gas, and personally, I prefer Toffler's format of the show rather than yours. Now, there have been different formats within the 2 versions of the show. But however, by the end of each round, kids would go to search a room in the Finders Keepers house. Now, according to yours version, the kids were allowed to search a room they wanted. However, that changed in the Toffler version, because in the Larry Toffler version, kids had to search specific rooms. So that's the way it works. Now, a correct answer in the searching part is worth $25, and a correct find in the room is worth $50. Then in round 2, the dollar values are doubled. Or actually, no, they're not. I take that back. In round 2, whatever you find in the picture correctly is worth $75, and a room is worth $100. Again, a correct answer on the picture. Excuse me, I'm a little itchy right now, but that's not the point. A correct answer on the picture is worth $75, and if you can find the specific item in the room, it's worth $100. Unfortunately, if you do not find the hidden item, the $50 in round 1 or $100 in round 2 goes to the opposing team. There were 2 team colors to play, red and blue. Now, the colors red and blue have been used throughout most of the Nickelodeon game shows, including additional colors on certain game shows, but I'll get to those later. So, at the end of the 2 rounds, the team with the most money, the team with the most money, excuse me, would move on to the house run, also known as the room romp. The winning team had 90 seconds to search 6 clue cards within the 6 specific rooms, and if they could search all 6 clue cards before the 90 seconds are up, they win the grand prize. So they could win up to 6 prizes in every episode. That's the way Finders Keepers worked. Alright, I think I said enough about Finders Keepers, and it's already been 12 minutes into the video, so let's move on now, shall we? Number 9 in my countdown is My Family's Got Guts. Now, the reason why this is number 9 in my countdown is because this is the sequel to one of the game shows that I'm going to bring up later on in the countdown. It was this version of that particular show was hosted by Ben Lyons, and the referee was Asha Gill or Hill or something like that. Yeah. And some of the events, there were a lot of different events compared to the original series shows of events, but everything was very much the same. Now, another addition to this version is, first of all, let's see, it's all about families, of course, and it was based on tournament. Yes, it was tournament style. It was tournament style. Now, on the final episode, let me see if I can remember this correctly. Oh yes, in the final episode of each season, the team with the lowest score of the 3 teams that moved on to the finals, the team with the lowest score would face elimination, while the other 2 teams would face each other in the final challenge. The team that won the final challenge would officially get the biggest prize of them all. That's the way My Family's Got Guts works. Now, I'm very sure that some of you guys out there who have watched My Family's Got Guts were not as satisfied compared to the original series. I mean, yeah, I wasn't quite as satisfied as the original series myself. But again, the original series I'm going to bring up later on in the countdown. Alright, so that's number 9. Number 8 in my countdown is You're On, hosted by Phil Moore. Now, this was not a very good Nickelodeon show, in my opinion, or rather, no, not in my opinion, but in some people's opinions. Because first of all, it didn't even seem like a game show. It was more of a reality show where kids would ask adults to do 3 tasks, and they had 10 minutes to do it. The show was also co-hosted by Travis White and Vivienne Collins. Now, Vivienne would move on, to co-host the Nick Gas Network, along with Maddie Moralejo, and also Dave Azer, who at the time was working at the original Nickelodeon in the early 2000s as well. So there you go. I gotta say, I'm pretty proud of Dave Azer, Maddie Moralejo, and Vivienne Collins for doing such an excellent job on Nickelodeon. But as far as You're On goes, well, I think Vivienne did a good job too. But now, the way You're On works, well, I just explained it. The 3 tasks, and adults had to do the 3 tasks and all that. Now, by the end of the show, most likely, an incomplete task would be brought on the show for a specific parent and child to be done. The child would do the damage to the parent. The parent would get all messy, and yeah, that's the end of the show. That's the end of the show of You're On. In one episode, which just so happens was actually the final episode, Phil's own son, David, actually played the games on him. Just as Phil Moore was about to announce the task, I want to say one of the incomplete tasks, with 2 people from the audience, 1 parent and 1 child, Travis and Vivienne appeared out of nowhere. They appeared out of nowhere and surprised Phil along with his son David, and oh my god, it was like I'd rather say it was awesome to see Phil's son David do that to him. I can only wonder how old Phil's son was when he hosted this other Nickelodeon game show that I'm going to bring up in the countdown. Okay, but that's not the point. What matters is that You're On was a pretty good show, but probably one of the least fan favorites, because it wasn't really a game show. But yeah, but I still think You're On was a pretty decent show. So that's why You're On is on number 8. Now, let's move on. Number 7 is Get the Picture. Why do I have Get the Picture on number 7? Well, here's how Get the Picture works. In Season 1, whatever you win is worth dollars. But then in Season 2, dollars were changed to points. Now the way this works is, in round 1, you play a game of Connect the Dots by use of 16 screens that make up a big screen altogether. And you try to guess what the specific picture picture is. Sorry about the little noise there. Let's see. If you guess correctly, you get, I think, 50 points or dollars on that one. I think it's 50. I'm not sure. I gotta look back and watch Get the Picture again. But an incorrect guess, you lose 20. Oh, and to point out, at the start of Season 2, a picture will appear at the very start, and the first team to buzz in will get 20 points and control of round 1. Now, During some points of round 1, one of the squares contains a power surge. On the power surge, you have to try to do various specific tasks within the big screen, and yet there are other tasks in the power surge that don't use the screen at all. Well, some actually use the screen after playing a puzzle game, I believe. There are various power surges. I cannot name them all, but that's okay. Alright, so yeah, so that's the power surge. And well, that's the end of round 1. Now, again, a correct answer is worth, I believe, 50 points or dollars. A wrong answer is worth 20. Now, if time runs out and they were still in the middle of guessing the hidden picture, then the squares are revealed one at a time until one team buzzes with the correct answer, or the picture is fully revealed and no team gets additional points for it. That's the way round 1 works. In round 2, a correct picture is worth $75 or points, and a wrong answer again takes away 20 points. Now in round 2, this round is called dots. There are 20 circles placed in between the 16 TV screens, and the way it goes is you try to place as many lines as there are answers, because the set of questions includes 2, 3, or 4 answers within the question. Now, if a square is fully opened up after 4 lines, that portion of the picture is revealed. On some occasions, that picture is actually a power surge square, and the power surge game begins. Oh, and I didn't point out that if a team completes the power surge, they get the additional points or dollars. If they fail the power surge, the points or dollars go to the other team. And the 2 colors of the teams, by the way, are yellow and orange. I didn't state that either. So there you go. Now, at the end of the second round, the team with the most money or points goes on to the bonus round of Mega Memory. In the Mega Memory, teams have 45 seconds in Season 1, and it was dropped to 35 in Season 2. Mike O'Malley, who hosted the show, I didn't bring that up either. Mike O'Malley, he's the host of the show. He brought up, he asks specific questions relating to the specific type of picture. If the team guesses correctly the correct picture relating to the question, they get $100, and that's for the first 6 pictures, by the way. If they answer wrong, then the question remains in play until they get it correct. What else happens? Oh yeah, if they get 7 or 8 pictures correct, they get more expensive prizes. Yes, they get more expensive prizes if they get 7 or 8 correct before time runs out. If they get all 9 pictures correct, they win a trip to Universal Studios in Florida, which is rather a shame because they're already in Florida, so really no point in that. But yeah. So anyway, so that's how Get the Picture works, and that's number 7 in my countdown. Now again, Phil Moore hosted another Nickelodeon game show that I'm going to bring up later on in my countdown, and Mike O'Malley also hosted another game show on Nickelodeon, which again I will say later in the countdown. But so far I managed to cover 10 through 7, so let's go up the line. Number 6 in my countdown, I'm sorry Billy Moody, but it is not what according to your top 5. Number 6 is Double Dare. Number 6 is Double Dare. That was number 1 on Billy Moody's top 5, but it's number 6 on my top 10. Now, Double Dare was it was an excellent show. I loved it. It's all about, let's see, answering a series of questions, doing physical challenges, and then in the final round, the team that moves on gets to play an obstacle course for eight tasks. Yeah, eight tasks. And if they can complete all 8 tasks, they'll win the grand prize. There were 3 different variations of Double Dare. The regular Double Dare, Super Sloppy Double Dare, and Family Double Dare. Now, the dollar values on the show depended on the type of Double Dare variation. But in all fairness, that was a good show, and not only does it involve slime, but it involves gack and very, very nasty stuff, and it's all messy. So Double Dare was a good show, but I put that as number 6 because even though it's an excellent show, I have personal thoughts on what the other shows are in the countdown for my top 5 out of my top 10. So I claim Double Dare as number 6. Billy Moody, again, I'm sorry if that's not what you wanted me to hear, that Double Dare was number 1, but that's alright. Okay. Number 5 in my countdown. The spin-off of Double Dare, Double Dare 2000. Oh, and the 3 variations of Double Dare, by the way, were hosted by Mark Summers, co-hosted by Robin Morella, and there was a man, let's see, announced by various people. There was a man who also co-hosted with Robin, but I forgot his name now. It's been so long. Okay, now, number 5 again is Double Dare 2000. Why is number 5 Double Dare 2000? Because I personally think that Double Dare 2000 was so much better than the original Double Dare because, let's see, they brought back the gack. I think they had much better, messier physical challenges to take. And not only that, it also had the Triple Dare Challenge. And on some episodes, there was a monkey named Boots, or was it Brooks? It's Brooks, I'm sorry, not Boots. I was thinking Dora the Explorer, but why do I care for that show? Okay. No, his name is Brooks. Brooks the Monkey. Brooks the Monkey would come out on Double Dare 2000 to represent the Triple Dare Challenge. Now, in the Triple Dare Challenge, the family was opted. Yes, they were opted. They had the option to go for the Triple Dare Challenge or stick with the regular physical challenge. Mind you, that was in round 2. And the way the money is scored in in Double Dare 2000 is similar to that of Family Double Dare. Questions are worth $25. A dare is worth $50. A Double Dare and a physical challenge are worth $100. That's in round 1. In round 2, the dollar values are doubled. $50 for a question, $100 on a dare, $200 on a double dare and a physical challenge, and if necessary, $300 for a triple dare challenge. Now just remember, the triple dare challenge is done in such another fashion, because in some cases the triple dare challenge makes the physical challenge a little bit more difficult. Like for instance, every challenge is 30 seconds. So for instance, the triple dare challenge could make the physical challenge 20 seconds. Yeah. So that's really something. Now, I want to say I personally love this show, and it was awesome. And the prizes in the obstacle course, I think they gave away excellent prizes in the obstacle course. But just like in the classic Nickelodeon shows, game shows, one of the trips would turn out to be Universal Studios, which is kind of sad because they're already in Florida, so really it makes no sense. But there were some other great prizes that they gave away. One prize they gave away on the show was a Nintendo 64. And I'm glad I said that because I've grown so fondly with the Nintendo 64, just like my good buddy Craig and some of my other friends who have owned it. And they also gave away the Sony PlayStation as another prize. However, they never gave away the PlayStation and the N64 at the same time. On some shows they would give away the N64, while on other shows they would give away the PlayStation. The two games were never given away at the same time. Just so you know. But anyway, that takes care of that for Double Dare 2000, and I personally think it was a great show. I think it was much better than the original 2000. It had more gags and it was a lot of fun. I really enjoyed it. The show, by the way, was hosted by Jason Harris and announced by Tiffany Phillips, I think her name was. Oh, I gotta look back. I think it was Tiffany Phillips, but I forgot now. Anyway, that's it for Double Dare 2000. Now, number 4 in my countdown is the other game show that Phil Moore hosted, and that's Nick Arcade. There were 2 teams that competed on the show, consisting of red and yellow. Now, in this game show, you take control of Mikey, the computer video adventurer, moving him from square to square in every direction except diagonally. However, if you move Mikey back to a previous square, there's an event called Time Bomb. Now, for this event, no points are awarded regardless of the outcome. The only problem is that the team that controlled Mikey to go back to a previous square was given a word that they had to Pong spell to keep control. Otherwise, they would lose control to the opposing team. What I mean by Pong spell is I mean that they alternately had to spell the particular word given by Moore. If they fail to spell the word, that is by spelling a letter that's not in the word, spelling the word incorrectly, spelling more than one letter, one person spelling more than one letter instead of alternating with his partner, or simply running out of time, they lose control to the other team. Now, the whole point of Nick Arcade is to get Mikey straight to the goal. Along the way, the teams encounter the 4 P's, as stated by Phil: points, puzzles, pop quizzes, and prizes. If you land on a prize, you automatically keep that prize regardless of the outcome, regardless of whether your team won or lost the game. Points, you get an additional 25 or 50 points depending on the round. Because it's 25 points for round 1, 50 points for round 2. The point values are doubled. Let's see. Pop quizzes. Let's see. Phil asks the teams a question. The first team to buzz in and come up with the correct answer to a particular question gets to take control of Mikey. And puzzles. There are various puzzles throughout the game. I won't explain them because that's too much information. But that's the way it works. Now, what I didn't point out is that at the start, before the start of each round, one player from each team plays a face-off game, and the team that wins the face-off gets 25 or 50 points depending on the round, and they get control of Mikey. That's the way it works. If the two players have tied for the same score, a pop quiz breaks the tie, and the team that breaks the tie gets control of Mikey. That's how the face-off works. Now, going back to the squares to control Mikey, and yes, I understand I've been explaining these things out of order, but never mind. Now, going back to controlling Mikey. Also along the way, you will encounter an enemy. If you land on the enemy, you lose control to the opposing team, and they get a chance to move Mikey. And also, there are video challenge squares, where if you land on the video challenge, you get to play one of 5 specific games chosen for the day's show. Let's see. One member from the team gets to actually play the particular video game and try to beat the Wizard's Challenge. It was named the Wizard's Challenge in round 1, and it was also named the Expert's Challenge in round 2. Now, the team that did not play the player that did not play the video game would use a Magnadoodle to write down how many points they're willing to wager or risk on the person who is playing the video game to beat the challenge. If the person successfully completes the challenge, the wagered score is added to their score. Otherwise, the wager score is deducted from their total, and the opposing team gets control. And finally, there are 2 ways. Now, I want to point out, the object of the game is to get Mikey, zip him straight to the goal. That's the object of the game. if you can successfully zip Mikey to the goal, the opposing team will try to pick a subject, and they're gonna try to stump you. Let's see, Phil asks the team who controlled Mikey to the goal a specific question from the theme that the opposing team chose. If the team answered correctly, they would get 50 or 100 points depending on the round. If not, then the opposing team gets half the score by default, meaning 25 points in round 1, 50 points in round 2. Now, in most cases of the show, Phil would warp Mikey to the goal because of time constraints. And the pop quiz is determined on a sudden death, meaning the first team to get the correct answer on the particular question that Phil asks, they get the 50 or 100 points depending on the round. By the end of round 2, the team with the most points moves on to the video zone for the chance to face the game wizard of the day. Now, the way the video zone works is one player from the winning team gets to play the first level 1 of the many games given, one of the many games given, and then the second player plays level 2 and gets to play one of the many games given there. And at the same time, they have to complete specific tasks depending on the type of game within the 2 levels. And then finally, if they can make it to level 3, they will both take on one. They both share units of power. They have 5 units of power. They both share the 5 units together in level 3. They get to take on Murloc. He's my favorite. Murloc was the favorite video game wizard of the entire show that I've witnessed over the years. Well, actually, I watched the show on Nick Gas, but still. Scorsha, and finally Mongo. Those are the 3 names of the wizards. Again, Murloc, Scorsha, and Mongo. Now, if the team can successfully defeat the game wizard of the day, they win the game and claim the grand prize. If they run out of time, then they get to keep the prizes they did manage to win, if any, within the first 2 levels. And they also claim, I believe, $50 for every partial task completed. Now, in most of the cases, the game wizard could not be defeated because of various reasons. There's so many I cannot explain them. But anyway. Alright. I think I've said enough about Nick Arcade. This game show was announced by Andrea Lively. That's her name, Andrea Lively. And You're On, by the way, I didn't state that earlier. You're On was announced by some Angie woman who I forgot. Get the Picture was announced by Henry J. Walesko, but he was simply named as Henry J on the show. Okay. Alright. That's number 4. Number 4 again is Nick Arcade. Number 3, I have good news for you, Billy, because number 3 is Figure It Out. Now, Figure It Out was actually number 4. Yes, number 4 in Billy's top 5 Nickelodeon shows. Figure It Out is number 3 on my top 10. The show lasted for 4 seasons. Originally lasted for 4 seasons and was hosted by Olympic champion Summer Sanders. Now, there were various panelists on the show that they tried to figure out the contestant's secret. In later seasons, the show would be named as Figure It Out Family Style, and again as Figure It Out Wild Style. Now, the way Figure It Out works is a contestant plays the game and tries to stump the panelists for 3 rounds. If time runs out within each round, for the first 2 rounds that is, the contestant successfully stumps the panelists and gets a prize. If the contestant can stump the panel by the 3rd round after they fail to make a final guess, that contestant wins the grand prize, which is a trip on the show. That's the way it works. Now, in each round, the celebrities had 1 minute to ask questions in which the contestant answers yes or no. If the contestant gets confused by the panelists' questions, the contestant is allowed to talk to Summer. Summer talks to the judges, and the judges come up with either yes or no. Now, by the time the first round is complete and the second round happens, a randomly selected audience member is chosen to win a prize. The way that works is that at least one of the panelists must perform a secret slime action. If the panelist successfully performs the secret slime action at any point during the game, even during the point where they make up their final guesses by the end of round 3, then that studio audience member wins a prize on Figure It Out. Now, just to note, sometimes Summer would trick the panelists into getting slime so that the audience member wins the prize. So that's how Figure It Out works. And then after the game is over, whether the contestant managed to stump the panelists through all 3 rounds, or the panelists managed to actually figure out what the contestant's secret is, then the secret happens. The special talent that the contestant does takes place at the end of the game. Now, in each show, there are 2 secrets in the game. 2 secrets. Now, personally, this was an excellent show. I really loved Figure It Out. It was an awesome show. And I think my personal favorite part would have to be the secret slime action, because it was fun to watch the panelists get slimed. Now, one of the most memorable panelists that appeared on Figure It Out, I have to say Danny Tamborelli, because I believe Danny appeared in, I want to say at least Danny appeared in every single Figure It Out season that Summer Sanders hosted. So I think that Danny Tamborelli has been the most memorable panelist. So Not every episode from the show, but every season. He did appear in every season. Now, he did appear in most of the episodes, not all of them, but yeah. Okay. So that takes care of Figure It Out with Summer Sanders. Now, by 2000, I believe 11, yes, by 2000, or was it 12? It was 12, I'm sorry. By 2012, not 11. By 2012, Figure It Out was revived, and it was revived again for another season in 2013. Now, for the 2012 and 2013 seasons, the show was hosted by Brain Surge's Jeff Sutphin. Now, another thing I forgot to mention is that the way panelists try to figure out the contestant secret is through Billy the Answerhead. But in the most recent format, they had to figure it out by known as the It board. In every season, during some points in every season, all 6 seasons, specific words do appear on either Billy the Answerhead or the It board. Now, there have been few format changes in the Jeff Sutphin versions. First of all, one of the words within one of the contestants' secrets, is known as the word of honor. And if the panel manages to guess the word of honor, the contestant gets slimed. Another change on the show is that in rounds 2 and 3, the game is played for 45 seconds rather than 1 minute. That's another change in the format. So there you go. Okay, where was I? The last known format on Figure It Out with Jeff Sutphin was that by the second season with him, that is season 6 overall, by season 6 of the show, not only was the show rebranded, but it was brought back with 5 panelists instead. See, because the process of season 6 was that Nickelodeon wanted to do a contestant search. Yes, they were trying to do a kid search for the kids. For the chance for the kids to be. For the chance to have the kids as panelists, just like the celebrities. Now, I'll bet you a lot of you guys were not satisfied with that format of 5 people trying to guess the contestant's secret. I mean, personally, I agree. I mean, I don't think the format with 5 people was even necessary, but that's what Nickelodeon wanted to do. We can't change that, so I do feel kind of sorry for this to have happened, but that's how it goes. Now, the reason Figure It Out has not returned was because Jeff Sutphin, the host of Figure It Out, who again hosted Brain Surge also, he had made an announcement that Figure It Out was not coming back. So Figure It Out has not aired since. So there we go. Alright. That's number 3 in my countdown. Again, it's Figure It Out, and I very much explained everything. Oh, the announcers, by the way. The announcer for Summer Sanders was Jeffrey J. Dumas. And the announcer for Jeff Sutphin was... Her first name was Elle. I think her last name was Thomas. I forgot again. I have to look her up. But yeah. Elle was her name. Elle. Okay. Alright. That's number 3. Again, number 3 is Figure It Out. Now, you guys remember when I brought up My Family's Got Guts? That was number 9 in my countdown. So number 2 in my countdown is the original series, Nickelodeon Guts. Also hosted by Mike O'Malley, just like he hosted Get the Picture. And the referee was Maura Quirk, referred to Mike O'Malley as Mo. Now, there were various events that I really enjoyed watching on Guts compared to My Family's Got Guts. I know a lot of you guys out there were not satisfied with My Family's Got Guts compared to the original Guts. Now, the way it works is that, let's see, 3 contestants playing for blue, red, and purple colors compete in 4 specific events, and then they compete in a 5th and final event known as the Crag. During the first few seasons of Guts, it was known as the Aggro Crag. Then in later episodes of Guts, it had evolved into the Mega Crag, and it took on a new molten gray color. Gray or silver, whatever. And then the final season was actually Global Guts, where I believe 8 countries, yes, 8 countries from around the world would compete on the show for a chance to win a glowing piece of the Super Aggro Crag. So this, you guys can say, is considered to be like the Olympics and whatnot. Let's see. Now, the way the challenges work on Guts is first place gets 300 points, second place gets 200 points, third place gets 100 points. And finally, in the Crag events, first place is worth a whopping 725 points, which means that some contestants can get a perfect score of 1,925 points, which on some shows that actually did happen. Yes, some contestants did claim the perfect score. Second place on the Crag events is worth 550 points, and third place was worth 375 points. These point values were to ensure that no 2 contestants would tie on the show, and also to ensure that one contestant who was behind could come back strong and take the win and take the gold medal. But seriously, Guts was an awesome show. I really enjoyed some of the events on the show. One of my most personal events would have to be Zero G, because, I mean, come on, you're walking on zero gravity, for crying out loud. And yeah, it was an awesome game. Now all of these events are sporting events, and let's see. The last thing I'm going to point out about this is that during the Guts season with the Mega Crag, it included Winter Olympics and also Summer Olympics. And not only that, sports celebrities would make appearances on the show too. So yeah, Guts was an excellent show. I really enjoyed some of the celebrities who have appeared on there. And to note some, Evander Holyfield and also Peekaboo Street. Yup, Evander Holyfield and Peekaboo Street. I gotta say, this has been a very long video, and yet I still have one more Nickelodeon game show to review. So, well, that game show is coming up next, so be prepared. Alright, so for the last time, Guts was one of my most memorable shows as a kid. Guts was actually one of the first game shows I watched as a kid in the 1990s. And Mike O'Malley, he did an excellent job hosting Guts, and I really enjoyed watching Guts. Guts will be one of my most memorable shows of all time on Nickelodeon. And now, The moment you've all been waiting for, ladies and gentlemen. My number one Nickelodeon game show. Oh, but before I announce it, I want to point out that Billy, I watched your top 5 shows, and you had Nickelodeon Guts as number 2 as well. So, Billy, coincidentally, you and I have tied for this. So that's good. You and I actually tied for this. And Figure It Out, by the way, was number 4. Okay, so Figure It Out was number 4. Guts was number 2 on your side. On my side, Guts was number 2 as well. Figure It Out is number 3. Alright. And now for the moment of truth. It's time for my number one Nickelodeon game show of all time. Are you guys ready? My number one Nickelodeon game show of all time. It involves 6 teams of different colors. It had a pool in which each team had to cross. It had a set of stairs. It had a giant talking stone rock head. It had some stunts that kids had to perform. And finally, a 2.5 floor vertical labyrinth. Yes, a 2.5 floor vertical maze. Do you guys know what show I'm talking about? 3, 2, 1. My number one favorite Nickelodeon game show of all time is Legends of the Hidden Temple. That's right. Legends of the Hidden Temple. I have grown up so well over the years watching this show, especially on Nick Gas. The 6 team colors are the Red Jaguars, the Blue Barracudas, my personal favorite, the Green Monkeys, also the Orange Iguanas, the Purple Parrots, and the Silver Snakes. This was an awesome show. You had a giant talking stone rock simply named Olmec. The show was hosted by Kirk Fogg and announced by D. Bradley Baker, who Baker in turn would work for other Nickelodeon shows later in the years of his career. And Baker also was the announcer for Shop Till You Drop with Pat Finn, but that's not the point. But this was an awesome show. Now the way Legends of the Hidden Temple works is the 6 teams compete in 3 elimination rounds. The way they would cross the swimming pool, it was known as the moat, was they had to cross the moat by very specific ways on each show. By the time they successfully crossed the moat, the first 4 teams to successfully cross and hit their gongs in front of them, their respective color gongs in front of them, would move on to the next round, while the last 2 teams would be eliminated and go away with a prize. Now, the second round, the Steps of Knowledge. Olmec tells the remaining 4 teams the legend. Then he explains to Fogg, the teams, and the audiences where the specific item is. And then Olmec asks a series of multiple choice questions with 3 possible answers. And the idea was that the team had to stomp down on the ancient marking in front of them. Fogg had to call the team name, and the team that came up with the correct answer would move down to the next level. If they ran out of time or they answered incorrectly, another team would get a chance to answer. The first 2 teams to correctly answer 3 questions and make it to the bottom level would compete against each other in the next round. The next round was known as the Temple Games. In the Temple Games, teams compete in various stunts to earn a chance to win a protective pendant of life. Now, the way the games work, the temple games work, is the teams, let's see. During the commercial break, the two remaining teams decide which players should go first for the first temple game, and which players should go second for the second temple game. Now, the first two temple games are each worth a half pendant of life. The third and final temple game, in which both players from each team compete in, it's worth a full pendant of life. The team with the most pendants by the end of the temple games would advance to the temple. If there is a tie after all three temple games, a tiebreaker question is asked based on the legend. Now, the way it works is that, just like in the Steps of Knowledge, the team to buzz in and get the correct answer would move on to the temple. The main difference is that the team has to hit the gong in front of them in order to answer. If the team gets the answer correct, they automatically go to the temple. In Season 1, Kirk Fogg would ask the question, and if the team answered incorrectly or ran out of time, they would automatically lose, and the opposing team goes to the temple. But later, in Seasons 2 and 3, Olmec would ask the questions, and if either action occurs, whether running out of time or answering wrong, the opposing team would get a chance to answer the question to proceed to the temple. That's the way it works. And now the final challenge, the temple run. The winning team gets to enter with the number of pendants won in the temple games, whether it's 1, 1.5, or 2. If you enter with 1 pendant, then the person who gets the pendant goes first, and the other player gets nothing. If the team had 1.5 pendants, the second player would have a half pendant and must find the other half pendant to make a full pendant should the first player go out of the temple. And finally, if the team had 2 pendants, they would successfully make it through the temple, and the only way they could fail was by running out of time. The teams had 3 minutes to successfully retrieve the artifact, the item, from the specific room given by Olmec in the Steps of Knowledge. Along the way, the teams would encounter up to 3 temple guards. Yes, 3 temple guards assigned to protect 3 specific rooms aside from the specific room where the lost treasure is located. If the player ran into a temple guard, he or she is forced to give up a pendant of life that they won in the temple games. If they are caught without a pendant, they are automatically transported out of the temple and their partner gets to play. If the team successfully reaches the artifact and brings it out of the temple, they win the grand prize, which is a trip. If they can grab the artifact before 3 minutes run out, they get another prize. Not the trip, but they get another prize aside from the trip. But for automatically competing in the temple, for going to the temple, they automatically win a prize. So that's the way the show works. But on a serious note, Legends of the Hidden Temple is my all-time favorite Nickelodeon game show. It will greatly go through my memories in the years to come, and I know there's a lot of you guys out there who have really enjoyed Legends of the Hidden Temple like I have. So again, this was an awesome show. I will never forget it, and to this day I still love it. Now before I shut this video off, I'm going to actually show you guys something. Do you guys remember my Green Monkey t-shirt that I showed you guys a number of months back? Well, here it is. Yup, this Green Monkey t-shirt proves that I am a successful representative of Legends of the Hidden Temple. Yup, this is my Green Monkey shirt. It's right here. And yeah, this is proof that I'm a true fan of the show. Alright, ladies and gentlemen, I'm about to conclude this video. Thank you guys very much for watching. And this is Jamar500 signing off. Oh, and by the way, I want, again, in Billy Moody's top 5 video, I forgot to point this out. In Billy Moody's top 5 video, that show was number 3. Yes, Legends of the Hidden Temple was show number 3 in his top 5. But I personally love this show. I will love this show for the rest of my life. So that show is number 1 in my book. Alright, so that's going to conclude this video. Again, thank you guys very much for watching. Special shout out one more time to Billy Moody, Craig S 1996 Television, Rodney 1279, Steve Klebrowski, and the rest of you guys out there who have enjoyed watching these shows in the 90s. So again, this is Jamar500 signing off, and I will see you guys next time. Goodbye.